West Cork Beard Company make beard oil and beard balm for a strong, healthy, great-looking beard. Handmade from all natural ingredients in Clonakilty, West Cork. Check out their YouTube channel for beard care tips and advice, or catch them online at westcorkbeardcompany.ie.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be. Welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast, episode 112. Back to Wembley via Southampton and Sheffield. Of course, the video you saw just before we came on, our sponsors, the West Cork Beard Company, link in the description below. If you have a beautiful beard like Dan, or if you have a beautiful beard like Harry, and Mark, but not so much Lee because he shaved his off now, or you've got a friend who's got a nice big beard, West Cork Beard Oil is the gift you want to be giving them. All natural ingredients made here in the beautiful West Cork. Check out in the link below. Good evening to you all in the chat box. And good evening to you, or good morning, or good afternoon to you if you are listening on Spotify or iTunes. Hello to you as well. So, boys, 2 wins on the spin, and not only 2 wins on the spin, 2 away wins on the spin. Absolutely unbelievable. We're going back to Wembley, and a nice victory in there as well over Southampton. Dan, what are your feelings, mate?
Well, mate, it's a strange feeling, if I'm honest with you, boys. It's a strange feeling. But what I will say is this team are proving me right, to be honest with you, because what's happening at the moment is the senior players are still letting us down. But I wanted Arteta to put faith in this young squad, and they are the ones that are impressing. There's a lot of positivity, over the last couple of games. I look at Eddie Nketiah starting against Southampton and getting his goal, and that was a real kind of striker's goal, chasing it down, the keeper down, never giving up attitude. Joe Willock getting a goal in the second half and coming on, I thought was excellent in the second, later part of the first half yesterday as well. Joe Willock, you've got Maitland-Niles, Tierney. These boys are really impressing. And the one that continues to impress and is starting to show some consistency now is Saka. And although I thought Saka had a fairly quiet game yesterday, he was still involved and still looked lively when he had the ball and was making things happen. So I'm really impressed with the youngsters, and I think that we deservedly so should be giving them a chance. But then you look at the restart, has been 4 games. We've already seen mistakes from senior players, and we saw another one yesterday. Everyone told me he had a fantastic game, but then it doesn't matter because he ruins it by smashing the ball against his about 4 teammates, and it rises to McGoldrick and goes in. So there's some senior players still making errors, and to be fair, they all do. It doesn't matter how good they are defensively. Luiz, Mustafi, Socrates, Kolasinac, they all still make the same mistakes. But luckily, our youngsters got us out of trouble. And I will say, I thought Pepe was superb. He really was starting to show some glimpses of why we bought this lad. And I looked at his stats, and I think 16 goals and assists now. So that, for me, is not bad for a first season of a player that has not been able to settle well under 3 new managers, playing with poor players around him in a new league with a big heavy weight of £72 million as a transfer fee. I don't think that's an abysmal start to his Arsenal career personally. And it still isn't over. He gets a couple more goals and he's into double figures. And that for a right midfielder for me is what Pires and Lundberg did every year. So you've got to look at that and say that the lad is not a flop like people are saying he is. If he's continuing to show the form that he has of the last few games, I'll be very happy. I must bring up Kieran Tierney massively because I thought he was outstanding yesterday. I think we've got a real player here, and I said it before his injury. I thought he was one of our most exciting signings of the summer. And injuries had let him down, and I feel a bit sorry for the lad, really. But when he gets a run in the team, he hasn't had many bad games for Arsenal. I'll give him that. And I thought he was outstanding yesterday. So some positives, Craig. And these youngsters are really starting to show, why I was right about playing them, because they all deserve a chance. If they're like, we certainly haven't missed Mesut Ozil, put it that way. With the Willocks and Maitland-Niles and all that. So I'm happy.
Lee, staying with the youngsters, mate, how refreshing to see a young striker going to hunt the ball down. I mean, how many times would we see a striker not bother when the goalkeeper's got it, so I'm not going to bother chasing that down because the goalkeeper's only going to go and kick it out. And then you've got young Willock there as well, who scored that goal in the second half, actually making a run just in case the keeper spilt it. I mean, how encouraging is that to see two young, Arsenal graduates coming into the side and getting the goals?
Yeah, I'm loving it. I think it's a really good thing, really positive. I'm going to say Willock's attitude, I think, is spot on. He was left out a few games and he comes back in. Whenever he's on the bench, he comes on, whether it's 5 minutes to run himself into the ground to just get the result. He seems to do it. And I thought, he come on, took his goal really well against Southampton, give us the cushion that we needed for that game. And I thought he worked his absolute socks off yesterday in the cup. When it's his time to come off, he doesn't show off or anything like that. He just does the business, and I'm really, really pleased with him. I thought Saka was quiet yesterday, but I thought he was brilliant at Southampton. The youngsters are doing really, really well. I thought Maitland-Niles' contribution yesterday shouldn't be underestimated, because I felt against Southampton, all their positivity and all the danger come down the right-hand side. Those attacking us down the right. We cut out that yesterday to a certain until it got to Mustafi, but that's where we get onto him later on. But I thought that all the youngsters are doing really, really well. I thought Eddie. I'm going to say this about Eddie. I weren't too happy when he was playing in the game against something. Southampton. I'm thinking, why are we playing? But he's really coming on. And this thing about he's not good enough for Arsenal because he wasn't good enough for Leeds. Well, from my point of view, maybe the Premier League suits him a little bit more than the Championship. I don't know. I think his work rate is really, really good, and he's got a little bit of pace about him. And I tell you what. I thought if there was one negative from our attacking play yesterday was that every time we got into the final third, we was the wrong options or it weren't quite good enough. Well, when Eddie got into that position right at the end there, he chose the perfect ball. Pepe, to be honest, should have done a little bit better before Danny come in and scored. But no, I'm well impressed with the youngsters. I think that they've got to be given a go. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we've got any good young central defenders coming through, because I'd like to see a couple of them come in. What we've got at the moment. I will say, I'm going to defend Kolasinac. I know Dan's always going on about him, and rightly so at left back at times. I thought he was absolutely fantastic yesterday in that position that he played. Big, strong. He made one mistake, but should it have really got to him? Should it have really got to him? Before those mistakes were happening,
the attempted header from Rob Holding was pathetic.
Oh, it was, and I will have to say, I've criticised David Luiz and had a go at him. I think, I've got an apology to make to him because I thought he was brilliant yesterday in a 3. I don't know about a 2, but in a 3, he looks much, much more comfortable. And I think that when he went off yesterday, the initiative went to them. So that was so all credit to him for that. And I'm going to have to mention somebody else that's, been defended by Harry on numerous occasions on this podcast.
Don't do it, Lee. Don't do
it. He's my mate as well. My mate Granit. I think that since he's come back into the team, he has been brilliant. I thought he was again yesterday right up there. When his game drops, and I'll tell you what, it does drop. Through the physicalities or whatever, he tires a little bit. Arsenal's performance drops as well. When he was on the ball for 60, 70 minutes against Southampton, Arsenal were brilliant. I felt in the first half yesterday, we was really, really good. He was part of it. When he doesn't get on the ball like he did in the second half, our performances drop. So I think that, I'm liking what Granit's doing in the last couple of games in particular. Now, if he has the right people around him, and Harry has always said this to his credit, if he has the right people around him, can we see the best of him? Let's hope that Mikel Arteta, because it does seem that Mikel Arteta does rate him, and if he does rate him, then give him the right tools around him, and we could have a good, like somebody said, a midfield of him, Partey and Grealish. Would you take that? And I would definitely take that, So So for me, I think well done to the youngsters yesterday. And I'm going to have to say a big up yesterday for Mikel Arteta. We've all gone mad, and it's drove us mad when Arsene Wenger has just continued to play the same team against different opposition all the time. We've been found out. He changed the team yesterday. He nullified their strengths. And for me, you have to give Mikel a lot of credit, and a lot of people were questioning that team before, and weren't too keen about it. But he'd obviously had a little look at them. And I thought, all round yesterday was a great performance. And people ain't giving us the credit we're deserving. People keep saying it's only Sheffield United, it's only Southampton. I want to see Southampton, by the way, that had one shot against Arsenal, absolutely rip Watford up yesterday, and I thought, they look a really good side. So how comes they look a really good side, but when they play against Arsenal, everybody says, they're a poor side.
And they were good against Norwich as well the week before. They were great against Norwich.
Yeah. We made them look ordinary. And I'll tell you what, that is a great result at Sheffield United yesterday. And of course, then you get the whole thing, it would have been a different story if there was a crowd there and all that. Well,
there wasn't. Unlucky.
There wasn't. Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, when other teams have won, no one's turned around and said, if there was a crowd there, they would have won and all that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh no, you know what I mean? Like they've been critical. We've got a lot of criticism against Man City, no crowd and all the preparation, everything like that. But as soon as we get a win, it all turns around about the crowd. Good result. Happy to be in the next round. Bring on City. End of.
Just before we move on to Harry, because I'm going to move on to Harry because I want him to tell us, I want him to give us the Xhaka lowdown. One player we haven't mentioned, who I think's been brilliant, and Goalkeepers Union. But that save Martinez pulled off against Southampton, against Shane Long. I cannot even begin to tell you what a strong hand that was. Goodness me, what a save. Absolutely. And then to get up as quick as he did and smother the ball again, that's what you want out of a goalkeeper. So Martinez gets a big shout out for me, Goalkeepers Union. And
that's an apology I'll have to give as well, because the last 3 games he's had, he has been good. To be fair,
very, very, very good. I can't
credit where credit's due.
You can't blame him for any goal that he's let in. There's nothing's been directly his fault. So Harry, let's come to you, mate. Let's listen to you. Big up Granit Xhaka.
I mean, the thing with Granit Xhaka is I think we can all agree that as a player, he's got limitations. That's not a secret. There are problems in terms of the way he gets about the pitch at times. But
very harsh, Harry. Very, very, very harsh, Harry.
Like Lee said, the key is that you set up the team right around him.
Yeah.
And having 3 centre-backs behind him or having him sort of where he's been under Mikel Arteta, even with the back 4, he's been slotting into a slightly different role. There's been a lot more protection around him. It makes the world of difference. And having spent 35 odd million on him or whatever it was.
Sorry, now if you can hear my boy screaming. One second, I was going to close the door.
I thought it was mine for a second. I was looking around. If you're going to spend the money on him and get him in, then you've got to use him to his strengths. So, look, I think what he brings to the team, he brings a bit of stability in the centre of the park. I don't think he's the answer forever. I don't think anybody's really saying that. But when you look at the options we've got at the moment, he's certainly the best place to play that role. A couple of other sort of points I wanted to touch on. In terms of Mikel Arteta changing the team yesterday, I think he managed the game perfectly. And I think there's been times in his early days where we've looked at games and been a bit like, has he managed this right? But the main thing is for Mikel Arteta that he's learning. And it's obviously these are really different circumstances because we're playing games every 2-3 days at the moment. So rotation is having to come into it. In terms of Kolasinac's performance, I agree with Lee. I thought Kolasinac had a pretty good game. In terms of the goal that we conceded, I do blame Rob Holding for that. Because if you leap up with that kind of authority, you've got to get the ball. And what he does is he leaps up and then all of a sudden Kolasinac blinks and the ball's at his feet and he can't get them sorted out in time. And you've also got to remember that Kolasinac is a left-footed player. In that position, right in front of his goal, he can't swing his left foot at that. It's going to end up in the back of his own net. So he's tried to, he just hasn't set himself in time. It's a mistake, don't get me wrong, but the mistake comes from us not clearing the ball in the first place. And you've got to deal with the ball at the highest point, surely.
I mean, there's argument to say there that he should have, he should have anticipated Rob Holding not getting the ball. But I mean, if you're standing in front of Rob Holding and you're seeing him go up, and then it's just like all of a sudden Rob Holding decided, oh, actually no, I'm not going to go for that.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it is a mistake. I'm not defending him completely from it, but I just think it's harsh to point the finger solely at him in that instance. In terms of Eddie Nketiah, again, I think Eddie Nketiah is a far more mature footballer than we've probably given him credit for in the last few months when we've been talking about him. He gets a lot of stick, like Lee mentioned, from his time at Leeds United, but I don't honestly think that Marcelo Bielsa didn't rate him. I just don't think he suited their way of playing. And anybody who's watched anything of Leeds or anything of Bielsa in the past knows that Bielsa has his way of playing and he will not change it for anything. And Eddie Nketiah is not the same type of profile player as, he's got Patrick Bamford up front, who people say doesn't score enough goals. But what he does do is he holds up the ball and he brings other people into the game. That's not necessarily Nketiah's game. And as Lee said again, he made a brilliant pass to Pepe, when we got the winner. But for me, that goal was actually created by Bukayo Saka because he brought the ball out.
Beautiful turn.
He drove forward. And not only that, if you freeze frame it, when Eddie Nketiah receives the ball and just steps inside, Saka makes this run in between the two centre-halves in a sort of diagonal direction. And what that does is it makes the centre-half who's with Pepe think, shit, and gets him caught in two minds. And he has to naturally tuck in. And it just creates that extra couple of yards for Pepe. He should do better with the ball, Pepe. But we got to praise Ceballos for the finish because
great finish.
A lot of players would snatch at that opportunity when the ball first comes to him. He takes one touch to get past the defender. He takes a second touch to steady himself. And I think everyone at that point's going, cut it back. But he's got the composure, the presence of mind to spot that the goalkeeper's left that channel open, and he's just slotted it in so calmly. And for the first time in a long time, we saw a bit of the kind of class and the composure that we thought Dani Ceballos was going to bring to the midfield. He hasn't done it often enough, but credit where it's due. He stepped up at a key moment yesterday and, really, really showed his worth. Not saying that I think we should sign him if Real Madrid are after 30-odd million for him or anything like that. But, it was good to see him play his part as well. We weren't great. Arsenal weren't great. We weren't, but, we were having trouble from sort of the long throw-ins and the long kicks that we know we're going to have trouble with. I don't think there's a team in the league, though, that can cope with that without any trouble. It's not a common way of playing football anymore. So when you do come up against those teams, you will find it hard. And look, as fans, I think we love to analyze the game and we look into it in great detail. But as fans, when you win a game like that and in the fashion that we did, and you book your place in the semi-final at Wembley, you just got to enjoy it.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. It's the best way to do it. A last-minute winner in a cup quarter-final to send your team to Wembley. Beautiful stuff. Mark, that leads me quite nicely onto this question. We'll bring this one in. Thank you, Adam, for your kind donation, mate. And Mark, he says a few positives for him is that we've got a youthful squad depth, winning ugly in a cup tie, and life without Aubameyang. Are we seeing Arteta's influence really taking shape? Good question.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a little bit longer, isn't it, for his ideas to get fully translated over. But yes, he's spot on with what he says, although I hope he's not totally spot on when he says life after Uber. I've got to hold my hands up as well if we're going around doing confessional apologies. I was actually quite quick to have a go at Arteta prior to the game yesterday because I was saying it's the only thing we can win and we've dropped our main goal threat.
That's right.
I wasn't happy with that. And he's got away with it, though. He's got away with it. The others have finally stepped up, but, decided to shoulder some of the burden of scoring goals, which, we would still like to see Laka doing a bit more of that, wouldn't we? But there is a fantastic nucleus of a really youthful side there. As Lee quite rightly says, no sign of anything positive from the back line still. In fact, I'm trying to be kind to Rob Holding, and I think that there is a place in the squad for him going forward as an Englishman. That ticks a box, and as a lad who's probably not costing us an awful lot of money. So financially, it works, doesn't it, having him in the squad? He's okay, isn't he? He's okay. But is he going to be able to keep hold of Raheem Sterling and Sergio Aguero? I don't think so. Not on that Wembley turf, not on that size pitch. He's going to get pulled all over the place.
He did it before. He played in the semi-final before.
Well, yeah, and so that's what we're hoping that he
that was before his knee injury.
Yeah, and we're hoping that they set up a system. It's interesting what you guys say, that Xhaka plays well, but he's got a 3 behind him. You know, he shouldn't need half a starting 11 behind him mopping up. But if he does, then, you know, fair enough. David Luiz, again, interesting you say about him, because I've always thought his major strength, it clearly isn't defending, is his out ball. Yeah, when he's not playing, Arsenal struggle to get going forward from the goalkeeper to the defence. You know, Mari had a torrid time trying to pick out a pass to turn the opposition. David Luiz does that very, very well. He is a very, very good passer of the ball. A very, very, you know, he's a set piece specialist. You know, he is very good with the ball at his feet, going away from our goal. Not very good, sadly, without the ball going towards our goal. But so that's why he works well best in a 3, because he's got 2 lads behind him mopping up. So. Yeah, I mean, it is really positive, though. You know, it's not great to get back to winning ways, isn't it? Winning football matches again. What a fantastic feeling that is that we've missed. And so, yeah, that's good. There is positive signs there. I really hope Uber does stay and plays with Eddie and stuff like that. But then again, no one is bigger than a football club, especially
Absolutely, mate.
Our football club.
Absolutely, mate. Couldn't agree more. There's nothing bigger than the club yet. And like I said before, many, many times, we've seen them come, we've seen them go. You know, we could all sit here and talk about the players who have left that we thought would cause us all kind. I mean, remember when everyone told us we were finished? Well, I suppose we kind of were, really, but that there wouldn't be anyone after Henry, and then Van Persie steps up to the plate, and you know, this, that, and the other. There's always going to be someone else. My dad always used to say to me, "There's always going to be someone better than you. Doesn't matter how good you are at anything. There'll always be someone better." Unfortunately, they don't end up at Arsenal.
It wasn't true about you, though, Craig, was it? With hosting podcasts.
Oh.
You know, you are.
Yeah. Man. You think so?
Yeah.
All right. How much are you paid him, Craig?
It doesn't matter what I think, Craig. It doesn't matter what I think. It's the people that count, Craig. It's the people.
I haven't paid him anything. I think it's because we went to school with each other since the age of 11, I think. Actually, here's a story to tell you. Alton Park Junior School versus Copwins Green Junior School. I scored my first ever goal for my school. And who was the opposing goalkeeper? This one, I'm going to bring this one in, Dan. Because
never played in goal since, by the way. I retired my gloves that day and went to right back.
I remember that day clear as you had the 1989 green Arsenal goalkeeper shirt on that day. I'll never forget that. I just wanted to come on to this, so this has brought me in it quite nicely. During the week, we hear rumours of Guendouzi asking to leave the football club. And William, great timing, William, and thank you for your kind donation, mate. Dan, we'll come to you and we'll start with you. Guendouzi, do we sell him or do we keep him? William says, would you take 40 million or 40 million plus for Guendouzi?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I don't want to lose Guendouzi because I seriously think he's got some potential to be a really good star. But I don't think it matters what we think. It matters what Arteta thinks. And if Arteta cannot stand his attitude and does not see him as a future player for Arsenal, then he has got to go and there won't hear any complaints from me. If Arteta says this guy has got potential and he's not leaving because of his lack of quality, he's leaving because his attitude stinks. And if he has got an attitude of a Neymar or a Pogba or an Ozil, I'd rather him go, if I'm honest with you. If he has got the ability to grow up a bit and knuckle down, then absolutely, we'll keep the guy. I like his passion, personally. I do like a bit of bite. I like a player who gives a damn. And when they walk off the pitch and he gives Mopé some, I don't mind it personally because it shows that he cares and it shows that he's as upset as the fans are that we've lost the game. But if Arteta doesn't want that around the training ground, and if he is, rumours are that he's messing about with him in training, he just needs to grow up. And Arteta might think, I don't want that in the part of the team, then I'll sell him 40 plus. That's probably about right for Guendouzi because of his potential and his age. And if you're going to, look at that and say, Let's take the 45 million for Guendouzi and buy Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey would be a ready-made first-team walker into that side and would improve us, in my opinion, and give us some steel and presence that we currently lack. So I think that is the way forward. But it's an interesting one about selling players, because we all know that these players need to go. These senior players need to go. We can't get rid of 15 players in one transfer window. But what do? Do we try and sell the Socrates and the Mustafi and the Ozils and Luiz and all this stuff? Or do we actually look at players who can actually get us some money so that we can then look to spend that wisely? Because if you look at somebody like Hector Bellerin and the offer comes in for between 25 and 35 million and we accept that, Kolasinac 15 to 20 million. You look at somebody like Lacazette at sort of 35 to 40.
Dan, who's going to pay £15 million for Kolasinac?
Well, he's still. That's what I mean, Mark. That's what I mean, Mark. You'd be surprised, mate. You'd be surprised, mate. You'd be surprised, mate. Trust me.
Really?
You'd be surprised, mate. You would be surprised who would pay that money.
Dan. Sorry, Dan.
So, so you look at that and you think Lacazette, he could get us some money. Aubameyang looks like he's probably going to have to go as well. And these are the players we're going to get value for. These are the players we're going to get returns for. We're going to get 5 million for Mustafi, 5 million for Socrates. It's just, I don't really see it working.
Is it like when we talk about players leaving, right? To me, it's not too. For me, it's not. I'm not too worried about how much we get back for them. For me, it's getting rid of their wage. I mean, Kolasiniac's on 110 grand a week.
No, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean,
yeah, you've got to offset that to the fact that we didn't pay a transfer fee for him as well.
Well, true, yeah, but I mean, he's still. That's a very good and valid point, but still 110 grand a week, Harry. He's not 110 grand a week player, is he?
No, he's not.
If you had 110 grand a week to pay someone in Arsenal, you're not going to say, "Oh, yeah, I'll give it to you."
Well, that's why Mkhitaryan's on 180 grand a week.
I mean,
deal. I mean, that is unreal. So for me, you're right, Craig. The wages have got to go. Ozil's another one that needs to try and be shipped out, but again, won't get no money for him, in my opinion. So I think personally, Guendouzi, and the Lacazettes and the Bellerins and the Kolasinac, and maybe even Torreira if he's unhappy and homesick or whatever it's called, he can get us, 30 odd million. Then we look to get rid of those and spend that money down our spine wisely. If we have to replace Aubameyang, we've now got money for it. If we have to get a Thomas Partey and an Upamecano, then fair one. I mean, there's a route. That's if we can attract players like that, because I don't know where we're going to finish at the moment. But if we do go out of Europe, it might be hard. But I mean, for me, those are the areas we need to strengthen, and we need money for it. And by selling Socrates and Mustafi, you're only going to buy the Chris Smallings of this world with the replacement signing money, aren't you? So,
yeah. Lee, as Arsenal fans, we're always sitting here and we're always saying we need this player, we need that player, we've got to buy this player, we've got to buy this player. We obviously look. There's no point of us sitting here and going through it all again. It's Kroenke's fault. It's Kroenke's fault. We are a club that are just not selling, are just not spending money at the moment. Okay, I'll actually rephrase that. We're a club that seem to not spend money wisely. There's an argument there to say, we haven't spent. But if you look back over the years, and even back to last season, we spent 72 million on Pepe, we spent 25 million on Kieran Tierney. Probably the best two purchases other than Aubameyang. What is it? Do you think that's in Mikel Arteta's head, Lee? Do you think that he can do? Do you think that he's trying to bring in the youth into Arsenal? Do you think that he sits at home and wonders, should he sell Aubameyang? Should he sell Lacazette? Should he get Ozil? Do I try and keep Ozil? Do I try for one more season to get the Mesut Ozil that we all know? Or is he like us? Sell. What do you reckon he's going to do in the summer?
I think what he's doing at the moment is what he's being calculated. He knows that by bringing in the younger players and giving them experience, that's going to boast the squad and make them stronger next season. So I think that he's looking at that. I think he's also looking at players and thinking, right, I'm going to give you a chance to see what you can do, and then hopefully realise that they're not going to be able to do what he's done. I think when you look at the transfer, everybody keeps saying, Arsenal ain't going to spend. Well, they spent last season. They spent I think wisely on some positions, not so on others. All of a sudden, Tierney, everybody's saying he's going to be a great player. That was a good signing. Martinez is one for the future. So they've done some good business. They've done some bloody poor business as well, I'll have to say. I think they signed Suarez and Mari, hopefully to be squad players for next season, because I think that, if you've got two top-class central defenders and one of them gets injured, the likes of Amari could come in and do a decent enough job.
Is that a bit unfair? Sorry, mate. Is that a bit unfair on Mari and Suarez? We haven't seen them play. Mari's played. Well, I think he played one game, didn't he, before he got injured? But who knows? Them two could take it off. Them two could take off.
What I've seen of him, he looks half decent. But if I be honest, what we need is a big, powerful central defender. We need to bring in someone that's maybe he can go alongside him. But then, I'd like to see like Saliba. Maybe like Mari could be the answer alongside a top big central defender. If I was Arteta now, I would have looked at Mustafi, and I now know that I've got to get rid. And people can say that he played well and whatever like yesterday, and I'll tell you why. Yesterday, they would have had a team meeting yesterday where they would have said, or whenever it was before the game, do not give away throw-ons against this side because they're as dangerous as a corner, right? 10 minutes into the game, instead of clearing his lines, he tries to take on the left-sided player. Yeah. He then runs it out of play. They put in a throw-on, which he doesn't deal with in a head, and they should be 1-0 up. We then go to 1-1, and we're up against it. One long ball. Oh, where's Mustafi? Wrong side. Has to get chased back to a centre forward, by the way, who's big and strong, ain't got no pace. Had to chase him all the way back into the corner, gives away a corner. With 2 minutes to go, what is their biggest threats? Throw-ins and corners, and we're now 1-1 with 2 minutes to go, and they're chucking one on us. Thankfully, they didn't score from it. But what it tells me is that we can do all the sort of play that we've had, play well for most of the game, but because a player doesn't do as he's told or just isn't good enough at defending, we all of a sudden are up against it, and we can end up losing the game 2-1, which we've dominated because we do not do the basics of defending right. So if I'm Mikel Arteta now, that is it for me. You've not done your job. And I want to get in someone better than him. So if we can get money for Mustafi, we can get money for these sort of players, then great. I look at it, and with Kolasinac, he's nothing more than a squad player for me. Someone that can come in like he did yesterday and fill a position for 1 or 2 games and then pull out when the bigger boys come in. Now, with the great signs that Arsenal have had in 2002, 2004, all those it needed squad players. Gramondi would come in and do a job. Wasn't, the top player at the football club, but would come in for 2 or 3 games, do a job. You know what I mean? When I look at the likes of Mari, Kolasinac, these sort of guys, they're all squad players. We have got to upgrade in certain areas. And I think that Mikel Arteta will look to do that. The youngsters will become the squad players that could come in, the Willocks and all that, like pushing the more experienced players to get game time. At the moment, they're the shining light. You know what I mean? Our negatives at the moment are our experienced players, i.e. Mustafi. He infuriated me yesterday. He could have cost us that game yesterday because he's just not doing the right things. Now, if you're seeing a Mustafi doing that, and then it wasn't just him. Kolasinac done it a couple of times. Instead of just clearing their lines, trying a little ball inside, and then Luiz had to come over to try and make it happen. It then becomes a corner. You don't give these teams the opportunity to have their strength at our weakness. And unfortunately, you then see Rob Holding coming on, making mistake after mistake. And I think to myself, well, why are you seeing him doing that? Because he's watching this in training and whatever, you know what I mean? So I'm pretty sure Mikel Arteta is looking at him and saying to himself, right, I now know I need a player here. And I swear and I hope to God that he goes to the board at the end of the day and says, look, I've given this player this opportunity. Willock, I've given him an opportunity, and he's done really well. I'll have him in the squad. Mustafi, I've given him opportunities in this thing. He keeps letting me down. Kolasinac or whoever, like, you know, I will say that, you know, every time I'm playing Xhaka at the moment, you know, I think that he's doing a good enough job. Maybe he can stay. The Guendouzi one I'd sell for £40 million plus a pound. No more, no less. So, 40 million and a pound we're having for him. Like, you know, but if it is and we can get that, we can get money for him, then great. Mesut Ozil, I'm afraid, you know, we're going to have to cut a loss for him. If it was me now, I would say, look, here, Mesut, there's your wages for this year, because let's face it, we're going to have to pay his wages whether he's playing or not. He's going to play a handful of games for us. Let's get him off. Not just, we're not going to get him off the wage bill. We're going to pay him off, but then it gets rid of the uncertainty in the squad, whether we're going to play him, whether we're not. You know, we'll get less pressure on someone like a Willock, knowing that if he is playing, Mesut Ozil's not sitting on the bench and things like that. I think we've got to do that for the right of the football club, not for the right of Mesut Ozil and the fans that love him and all that. What's right for the club? For me, let's get rid.
But Lee, do you understand? Sorry, Craig. Do you understand why some of these fans? I don't understand for the life of me what these Arsenal fans are on about. Sometimes they'll happily slate Pepe or Guendouzi, who have been here for a season or a season and a half, but then they'll say to somebody like Mustafi, Xhaka, Ozil, "Oh, they're looking so much better under Arteta." I don't care. For the last 4 or 5 years, they've been absolutely abysmal players. So they're the ones that need to go, and I'm totally with you. They're not, to me, they're not even squad players. They're the ones that need to be gone. They're the ones that need to be shipped out. And the squad players for me are the ones you've said, like the Willocks, Maitland-Niles, all them lot.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but there's a great point in that he has made Mustafi better. He has made all these players slightly better. So if he can do that with these players, what can he do with the top players? You know what I mean? So get rid of these ones. Get in the top players, and you know, bring in a Partey, bring in a Upper McCann or whatever his bloody name is, right? And make them even better than what they are, right? If it makes them even better than what they are,
they're at the right age. They're at the right age as well, aren't they?
Yeah. What's his first name? Do you know what I mean? Who?
Dayot
Harry.
Meccano.
Harry. Dayot. I can say like Dayot. Right, we'll have him like that. I mean, like Dayot is the one, right? He can be. But he can make him better. He's making Mustafi. Yes, he's made him better. You know, Granit Xhaka, I'm going to say that. He's been made better. What can he do if he can get a top-class player and make him even better? Say if he got, you know, Jack Grealish and made him even better than what he is now. That's the sort of thing that we've got to do. We're wasting our time on the likes of Mustafi and they're never going to get no better, because you know what? They've gone past that where they can get any better.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Agreed. 100% agreed. Harry, you know a bit more than me about financial fair play and all that malarkey. Thank you, Bill, for your kind donation, mate. As always, thank you for coming along and supporting us. Thanks very much indeed. Would paying off Ozil's contracts help us with financial fair play?
I don't think so.
Harry, I think.
I don't see how it would, to be honest, because if you're paying it off, you're almost doing it voluntarily. So you're paying it off sooner. So why would you? That's a cost that you're incurring to try and make your books look different, I guess. So. No, I can't see it helping us in any way. I mean, look, Mesut Ozil's gonna go. He's done. He's not gonna be the player he was for Arsenal. That ship has sailed and all that. But you know, it's a saga that just goes on and on and on and on, and we always moan about it.
What went wrong for him, Harry? What's gone wrong? Because when he first came, I mean, he made his debut against Sunderland away, right? Gets the ball, gets down the left wing, puts it on a sixpence for Giroud, and you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh my God, finally, we have got a player that can put a ball in front of a striker. I mean, I can remember that cross and the finish and sitting here going, I still can't believe Mesut Ozil plays for us.
You probably answered the question yourself, Craig, because we've sold our six-yard box predator in Giroud.
Come on, we've Aubameyang and Lacazette now. I mean, do you know? I mean, what I mean, I went down to town, got Ozil written, Ozil on the back of my shirt. I used to sign him on FIFA. Go quick, right? Mesut Ozil. That's the first player I used to sign, But as crazy as that sounds, what went wrong?
I think it's a combination of things. I think he's obviously declined a little bit. He's had the peak years of his career. He's sort of on the way down now. I think the team set up around him hasn't been right. At times, I think that Unai Emery was a big factor in Ozil's demise, because I don't think he was ever this bad under Wenger. And that's not to say that Emery was completely wrong in that, because Emery clearly thought that the way he could make us more competitive was to take out a luxury player, if you like. And so I understand to a degree why he did that. But the problem with Emery was that when he then needed creativity, he'd made it impossible for Ozil to then come in that environment. And he would bring him in from having 3 or 4 games out. He'd bring him into the team and expect him to do everything. And then everyone would go, oh, look, he's not performed, but he hasn't played for 4 or 5 weeks. So, look, it's not just down to the managers. It's down to Ozil's application as well. He's not, he doesn't look interested sometimes. But I think that the whole uncertainty around his future and the stuff that goes on in the background for me is the biggest problem. Are we going to judge Mesut Ozil on what he does on the pitch when he plays, or are we going to keep talking about his wages? Are we going to keep talking about the injuries? Because every time he's not in the squad, it's, oh, yeah, what's going on now? Let's make a big saga. Let's have a big thing about it. But you can understand as fans why we do that. He gets left out against Southampton, right? And then the next day he tweets a picture out at training. Oh, we go on, this, that, and the other. So we know that Arteta's left him out. Why he's left him out, we don't know. But then, yes, at the weekend, then he's been left out because he's got a back strain. So. Yeah, but we know, Craig, that he's had ongoing issues with his back for years. It's a recurring problem that Mesut Ozil's had. And so this is my point. It's not good from an Arsenal perspective that injury keeps popping up. And I get why people get frustrated with it. But if this was anyone else, if it was a hamstring, let's say it was a hamstring, then it wouldn't be such a big deal. It's like some people think that it's just a cop-out and that it's an excuse that the club...
Like me.
I personally don't think it is. He was left out of Manchester City. Mikel Arteta, in my opinion, handled that wrong. I think that was one of the few mistakes he's made, I would say, was when he said before the game that he was going to address the issue after. He shouldn't have said that, because he created this shitstorm of controversy only to then say it was tactical. So you shouldn't have set that up if you weren't going to actually disclose anything. He then said later on that Ozil was, Ozil became a father during the lockdown. He was a little bit behind in his fitness to everyone else. Fine. I'm not really that bothered about it.
We'll get over that,
Yeah, I mean, 80% of the fan base would have had a meltdown if he started at Manchester City anyway. Southampton, he was on the bench. He didn't come on. We were winning the game by a 0-0 until the dying stages. Again, why would you bring Mesut Ozil on? It was tactical. As Dan said, we scrapped the number 10, didn't we? We were talking about that last week, about how we got rid of the number 10 role for that game. So where does Mesut Ozil fit in? He doesn't. It's not that big of a deal. He just doesn't always fit in what we're doing now. And if he doesn't fit, that's because the manager doesn't think he wants him in that starting 11. And it doesn't always have to be a massive conspiracy about why Mesut Ozil's not in the team. And that whole attitude that everyone has about, oh, shit, is Ozil in the squad? No, he's not. Let's all have a meltdown. That is not helpful. It does not help in any way. The pressure, like Lee mentioned about the uncertainty and the pressure of him being there, that comes from us as fans, because we keep speculating all the time. If the manager says it's tactical, then it's tactical. We zip it and we get on with it. If we're going to question, if Mikel Arteta says he's unfit, we go, no, he's not unfit. They've had a falling out.
If
Mikel Arteta says it's tactical, we say it's not tactical, it's something else. If they say it's his back, we say, no, it's not his back. We're always trying to find something with Ozil. Just if he doesn't fit in the plans anymore, fine, it doesn't fit in the plans.
Are you saying then, reading between the lines, are you saying that you might think that Mesut Ozil is done at Arsenal?
Yeah, I do think he's done at Arsenal, but I also think that he can still be useful in certain scenarios. Therefore, the fans giving him shit all the time, or even the management of the club giving him a hard time, is not beneficial to anybody. That's all my point. We can't go back and change his contract. He's on what he's on. Our mistake for giving it to him in the first place. But as I've said time and time again, had him and Sanchez walked out in that same season, we'd have all gone nuts at the board. So they had to keep one. They kept the wrong one, unfortunately. We move on. Can he be useful at times? Yeah, I think he can. But I think that and there's a comment here in the live comments from Mike. He says, Harry, you say that now, but when Unai said it was tactical, you would bash him. Arteta is doing what Unai tried to do, in my opinion. The difference between Unai and Arteta is that I actually believe in what Mikel Arteta is trying to do. I actually understand what he's communicating to the fans, and I actually think he has an end goal in sight, whereas Unai Emery was a cowboy making it up as he went. And
I agree with you. Yeah.
With the rest of Unai Emery's career, I guarantee you Unai Emery will not have a job as big as Arsenal ever again in his life.
Totally agree with you. Wow. Absolutely. Bonsai. Mark, let's talk about Kieran Tierney. How good?
Good. We're going to move on from talking about Mesut Ozil every week.
I want to talk about. I want to talk about Kieran Tierney because I think yesterday was the first real glimpse of what a player we've got on our hands here.
Yeah, Dan's spot on. You know, finally we've gone and bought a defender who knows how to defend. You know, proper Scottish no nonsense.
He was so old school yesterday. Up the pitch, down the pitch, up the pitch, down. No hanging about up there, no hanging about down there. He went forward when he attacked, and he came back when he was defending. How good was that to see? Finally we've replaced our left back. You know, it's been taking a while, but then, you know, there's a lot of competition in the market for good players. You know, we touch about our recruitment all the time, don't we? We've got Leicester City out there not putting a foot wrong in the transfer market, selling Harry Sluggish Maguire for £80 million, and then they already had the Greek lad lined up who looks mobile and a better centre half to me. So, you know, their recruitment spot on. Liverpool, that was embarrassing the other day. They went through Jurgen Klopp's signing since he's been there. I mean, the worst signing he's ever made is Naby Keita. And the players, if you look at the players,
and by the way, he'd be our captain, Keita, if he comes to our club. Do you know what I mean? Their recruitment policy is absolutely spot on. So yeah, you know we've got to get rid of these old players, but we can only get rid of them when there's something better available. There's no point just cutting your nose off to spite your face. You know, you've got to work with what we've got and get the best out of what we've got until we can replace them. And in Kieran Tierney, we have made a superb signing. And like Dan, I totally agree. Pepe as well. You know, he is starting to bulk up. He's starting to find his feet in a different country, speaking a different language, and all of that, you know. So, yes, maybe we've turned the corner with our recruitment. God, let's hope and pray we have. You know, we need it. If we had a right back the same as we've got Kieran Tierney, we'd have two cracking fullbacks, wouldn't we? But it takes time, doesn't it? You know, you're not allowed anymore with financial fair play to go out and buy 11 players. You can't do it no more. You could do it when Roman came. He bought a new team for Chelsea. You can't do that now. So we're going to have to piece by piece, and as we manage to get people off the books and get other people in. Until then, it's just going to be a slow build, isn't it? You know, we said, you know, what Jurgen's had.
Look what Jurgen Klopp done.
5 years. 5 years.
And you know, he's turned Liverpool absolutely, you know, one of the best teams in Europe for me. And the players that Klopp signed. I mean, you look at signing Andy Robinson from Hull.
Yeah, but I didn't. I mean, can you imagine if Arsenal signed a player from Hull? We did when we signed Rob Holding from Bolton for £2 million. I didn't care. I didn't think, he must, you know, Wenger himself famously said, I'm sorry he didn't cost 35 million. Yeah. You know, whatever. Don't get me wrong, I was always proud of Arsene Wenger's astute activity in the transfer market. And I think most Arsenal fans were, that when we was as good as we was, and we could turn around and say, have you seen this lad? Nicholas Anelka, it cost us £500,000. When at the time Manchester United was spending huge sums of money on players and whatnot, you know, I was proud as an Arsenal fan to say we're doing it and we're doing it the right way, and we're going to have to do it like that again. It's going to take time. We're in, as I said last week or the week, you know, I don't think people realise what dire straits this squad is in, what Wenger has left behind. There was a couple of shining lights in that squad. One of them's being described as a man mounting on and off the pitch by Frank Lampard, still for a team that is almost certainly going to finish in the top four in Olivier Giroud. We sold him for £13 million. Why? Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, when he went to Liverpool, I thought, what the hell's he doing? Well, he's got a European Cup trophy in his cabinet and now Premier League trophy in his cabinet. You know, so that's why, because he saw what was being built. And this is where we've got to do. We've got to start building. And Kieran Tierney is a fantastic first piece in it, or not first piece, but a really good start. But he does with Saliba. We hope we've got another one, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
But we do need another centre half. But I don't know if in a football club you could replace your centre half pairing in the same season, because is it too much? I don't know.
Well, I think we're going to find out next year, mate. I think we'll find out next year. Let's get some of this question, pull this question in here from the Bearded Gooner. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for your kind donation. That's very, very kind of you. Everyone who's watching tonight, you can go and follow the Bearded Gooner on Twitter and also subscribe to his YouTube channel that he's got. He is an Arsenal fan from the United States of America. And offers some very nice opinions. It sounds like he's paid me to say that when I'm actually just being nice and giving him a shout out. But
he has paid you $14.99.
Well, true, yeah.
That's a Big Mac.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, mate. That's two 20 nugget box. That is.
Yeah,
that's 40 chicken nuggets. Arsenal's biggest problem has been recruitment and unwillingness to sell players for their market value. We'd rather leave them they'd rather leave for free. We'd rather leave them go for free than what we think they're actually worth. Dan, let's get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I echo Tanner, Bearded Gooner, top man. Get on very well with him on Twitter as well. Really good bloke. Yeah, listen, recruitment, I've said it a lot. I've said it a lot. I think this board, and not just this board, the previous regime have messed up our recruitment for the last 10, 15 years. I'm running out of superlatives for Jurgen Klopp and what he's done in the last 4 or 5 years at Liverpool. If you go through the squad, I was speaking to Lee on the phone last night. We're having a chat about it. Literally, every single one of those players that has gone into that side has not come from a world-class football club. It has come from... you've mentioned Danny Robertson at Hull. Alisson was Roma. Trent Alexander-Arnold was the youth system. You've got Van Dijk from Southampton, Gomez from Charlton. You've got Mane from Southampton, Salah from Roma. You know, Hoffenheim, Firmino, Jordan Henderson, Sunderland, Leipzig, Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Arsenal. You look at it and think, he hasn't actually gone to the Real Madrid's, Barcelona's, Chelsea's, Man United's of this world. He's looked at those teams and thought, do you know what? We'll go for that, and we'll put these players together because they suit the style that I want. So Tanner's right there in terms of our recruitment. It cannot match it up. We have messed it up royally in the last few seasons, in my opinion, and that's something now that we have to hope that Arteta and Edu and Raul and Husfami can get right, because we need them to try and have some pulling power. And whether that is Arsenal's the right club because we're a huge history and we've got the fans and we're in London and all that, then great. But if we're out of Europe, I think it will be very, very hard. Upamecano be a great signing. Thomas Partey would be a great signing. But for me, trying to get that spine sorted is important. And I've said it before on here before. I don't mind if, like Mark says, we go and buy another £2 million centre-half or a £5 million defensive midfielder if they suit Arteta's style. If Arteta believes that Upamecano and Thomas Partey are not the right people for the Arsenal, but these players are that cost 3 times less, I'd still be okay with that, because Arteta needs to work with what he can look as a style and a philosophy. So that for me is really important. And what I'll say lastly on what Bearded Gooner had said about players leaving on a free. that for me is you've got to look at Gazidis, and now you've got to look at Raul, because when Raul and Vinay took over, they said, we will not let players' contracts run down. In the last 2 seasons, we've let Ramsey, Welbeck, and Cech go on a free, and now we're going to let Aubameyang go on a free, potentially, and Ozil and the others that are not so important to the club. So that's a complete lie. So that needs to change. If we really do want to move forward and we do want to get back at the top, Arteta needs huge backing. He needs huge support, because that's what Klopp had. Yeah, I know he didn't spend millions and billions and trillions, but he did have support and backing for the players he wants, and that's what Arteta needs. This is a huge rebuild, boys. That is going to be probably 4 years that Klopp's taken. It might even be longer, because we're in a worse state than Liverpool, in my opinion, of 4 years ago with some of the players we've got. So it's got to take time, and we've got to give Arteta time as a fan base.
Absolutely. I forgot who was it. Was it Lee? I'll come back to you. I don't know if you saw Robin van Persie's comments about Arsenal yesterday. He said that, a lot of people, I put it out on Twitter yesterday, and a lot of people were telling me, I don't care what he's got to say about Arsenal. But he made quite an interesting point about how Arsenal don't look fluid yet under Arteta. He says there's no connection from the defence through to the midfield, through to the strikers. And he said, over the years, Arsenal were always fluid. The ball just seemed to move from defence to midfield to attack. And before you know it was in the back of the net. I think, Lee, and I don't know if you agree with me, I think he's got a massive point there. We do still look robotic, I think is the word I'd describe it. What would you say on that point from Robin van Persie?
Not interested in what Robin van Persie's got to say.
I should have known that was coming, shouldn't I?
Who cares what he thinks?
You know what? It makes me laugh, right? Because I was actually watching the game yesterday. It was Sheffield United versus Arsenal. It was on Sky. Arsenal lose 1-0. I don't know if you remember it when Jagielka goes in goal. We had Batista up front and Ali Aladir. We had he played Van Persie. We was abysmal, right? There was no fluency going through the team then. It was in 2006. How we got into the top 4 that year, I don't know. So I see what he's saying, but Arsenal were not always fluent even through the Wenger years, because a certain goal, like the pitches weren't as great. It was awful, their pitch at Bramwell Lane that night, but we still lost 1-0. They had Jagielka going goal, and by the way, he had one shot. So even with the mighty Robin van Persie in the team, there is a bit of a worry about the fluency. But I can see, and I think in his defence, he actually said it as well. He can see that there's something going to happen with the team. He can see what he's trying to do, and it's going to take time. And he's going to have the right players in place to do it. Now, I thought yesterday we looked fluid when we had David Luiz in the back 3, and we was popping the ball forward and all that. As soon as David Luiz weren't in the back 3, it all went wrong. And then the fact of the matter is, you've got to have the proper players in the proper positions to play what you want. And the great point about it is that Manchester City, when Pep took over, his fullbacks he couldn't play the way he wanted because he didn't have his fullbacks. He went and spent 100 million on 2 fullbacks, and all of a sudden they go and look at them now. They've won the league, they won the treble last year. They've already won a cup this season. They're not going to win the FA Cup, but they've got a good chance of winning the Champions League. So the thing is, Pep was only as good when he got his players in to play the system and the style that he wanted to do. And we're going to have to just, I think, at times this season, stutter towards the end of the season. And then, hopefully, as Dan says and what people are saying in the chat, he will be back to bring in his right players, and then you'll see the sort of style and the fluid side of our game. If they're not going to back him, though, Craig, we're going to see this next season and the year after and the year after. And there was a point made yesterday when someone said, the trouble with Arsenal is that a couple of seasons ago, we had it's maybe a better at the back and we didn't have the forwards. Now we've got the forwards, it's a shambles at the back. You know what I mean? So now we're going to have to address the back again. And by the time we've done that, all the forwards will be gone and we'll be a shambles up front again. We've got to get this balance right, and it's got to be done quickly. And I agree with what Adrian's saying, and Freddie, or whatever his bloody name is today. It's about jigsaws and it's a bit pieces, and you've got to get the pieces in early doors, and I agree with that. You know, it's going to take that, but we've got to get in pieces very, very quickly to shore it up, and that's where I think the youngsters are going to be key, because that means we don't have to worry about the squad. We can just concentrate on a good 11. You know what I mean? And the squad will be strong with our youth players, but we've got to concentrate on getting a good 11. There was even a couple of seasons ago we had a good 11. And people would say, our 11 would compete with the Man Uniteds, the Manchester Cities and the Chelseas and whoever. But our squad let us down. You know what I mean? But now we haven't got a bloody decent 11. You know what I mean? So that's where it's going to be happening. We've got to stop the cycle. We've got to stop this cycle. We've got to stop it. And it stops this up in this summer, hopefully, with Arteta having, they've trusted him to do it. He has got to be the man to go to the board and say, look, this is what I need. We've got to stop this and hopefully address it. Pep had the authority and the strength to be able to do that, and of course the backing from Manchester City to believe in his project. Now surely somewhere along the line, Pep, may have decided to leave in a year or 2 years' time. You know what I mean? And that job was set up very, very nicely for Arteta. Could have been. But Arteta now has given up what I think is a cushy bloody number at City, where he was going to just, win trophy after trophy, to come down to Arsenal, not to be backed. I'm not having it. I think that he will be backed, and it's got to be backed, and he's got to be by the right people. And I don't think that people, if things are not done in the summer, I generally do think that we should not be getting on Pep's back. Arteta's back. We should be getting to the recruitment side of it, and they're the ones now that have failed and failed and failed. They've not failed all the time, because they have brought in some decent players, as we have mentioned. Leno's coming to the team. We've got Martinelli. We've got Tierney that's come into the side. There's been some good things in there, but this is an important summer that they get it right. And if they don't get it right, they need to be sacked. Simple as that, you know what I mean? Because we cannot continue on the route of the merry-go-round of getting good forwards in and not addressing the back, getting defenders in and not then addressing the forwards or the midfield. The midfield at the moment's weak as well, And someone said in the chat earlier on, and it is a very, very good point. Under Emery, I know that Harry didn't like him or whatever, and I weren't keen on him. But when Aaron Ramsey was in the side and we was playing well, we were third in the league game for things. He got injured and it all fell apart. You know what I mean? And for some reason, someone at that club, for whoever, we'll never ever get to the meaning of it, decided it was good business to let him go for nothing. You know what I mean? And then let him go for nothing and not be replaced. Because whatever you think of Aaron Ramsey, he give you 10 goals a season. Our midfield's not got 10 goals. The whole lot of them have not got 10 between them. He'd get that on his own. So many things that need to be addressed in the summer. And I'm confident, I know you might laugh at me with this, I am confident that they will do the business this summer. I really do. I think that, because if they don't, Mikel, we'll lose him. And what I'm seeing of him, he's potentially a very, very good coach, boys. Very, very good. We don't want to mess it up.
Do you think as well, Lee, the interview just summed it up at the end for me, the interview with Arteta, and he said, how big a job have you got here? And he just laughed. That to me says he knows his team ain't good enough, and he knows he's got a huge summer ahead of him.
Good point.
Surely the board know this. Surely the board know this. Come on, they must be watching these games.
I mean, surely in the interview, Arteta has said to him, I know what needs to be done here. If you're going to back me, if you're going to back me, then I'll come. If you're not, then forget it. Go and get fucking Steve Bruce. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and what I look at it is you can look at this two ways. And people turn around and go, oh, yeah, getting these results now. The board will turn around and say, oh, it's that we're doing okay. Or they can look at it and think, he's doing well with this. Imagine what he can do if we back this manager. Imagine what we can do. And I feel that that the board are going to do that. Let's back the manager. I'm not saying go out and spend millions of. We need. I believe we need 4 players: a central defender, central midfield player, a midfielder that's going to create, and possibly a right back. I'm not saying we're going to win the league from there, but if we get 4 top players in there, that will make us competitive. Because at this moment in time, we're not competitive as challenging for the title or the top 4. So 4 players, 50 million each, you know what I mean? All right, and wages on it. And if you have to then let a Guendouzi go or a Torreira go, you know, so be it. So be it.
Harry, I want to bring this one in and want to keep on the Mikel Arteta discussion. A brilliant comment has just come in here, mate. Arteta turned us down when Emery got the job because of that reason. That shows his standards and the personality to take us forward. Bloody good point, that. We don't know for sure that Arteta turned us down because, you know, I remember when that saga was going through, the bookies were stopping paying out on Arteta. That he was going to be Arsenal's next manager, and all of a sudden, up pops Unai Emery. What people are saying, Harry, about I can see what Arteta wants to do. I can see where Arteta wants to go. I can see it. I mean, obviously, we can all see it, Harry. But where is he going to? You know, if he gets it right, where could he take us?
It's that's a difficult question to answer because where he can take us eventually is dependent on the ambition of the club. And, you know, if the club are gonna put their money where their mouth is and they're gonna give him the support that he needs, there's no reason why he can't go on to hit the very top heights. You know, he's someone who's used to, not necessarily as a player, but as a man, as a coach, he's only been around winners. He's only been around the winning environment. He's only been around Pep Guardiola, who, for you know, I don't get why, but there are some people that, you know, they say that Pep Guardiola's overrated and he's just had great players at his disposal. The man is obsessed, and you only need to watch that Manchester City documentary to know how obsessed he is and how
I've watched it. Yeah,
have to be at the top level time and time again. And Mikel Arteta, he reminds me of Pep in the way he goes about things, and that's natural because that's who he's learned from. So I expect him to take some of the things from there. But I also think Arteta is bold enough and smart enough to have ideas of his own. And he's shown very early on is that he will, he's got his principles, which I'm sure, you know, you watched Manchester City yesterday dominate Newcastle, 74% possession. I'm sure that's what Mikel Arteta wants at some point. But he's also smart enough to know that with this group that he's got, he cannot do that right away. And we can talk about them not necessarily being fluid at times, and I agree with that to a degree, that Robin Van Persie said. But that is because Mikel Arteta is plugging gaps and holes and trying to make us as competitive as possible with the tools that he has at his disposal. He will go far, but we need to be patient with him. We also need to, you know, we could probably get back in the Champions League operating the way we're operating now if he's got time to embed his ways. But if Arsenal want to go to that next level again and Arsenal want to be one of the very best, then it has to change within the whole club. You know, because we can't be shopping in the lower markets whilst Chelsea and Manchester City and Liverpool are able to go out and attract the world's best players. The advantage that we have now is that we've got a coach who, when someone can communicate with the fans and you can buy into what he's trying to do, you are more willing to be patient. I'm a lot more willing to be patient than I was under Unai Emery. And I don't blame Emery for his English not being great. In my opinion, the club made a mistake by not just putting a translator next to him. But that communication between the fans, between your players, and then when you go out to sign other players and convincing them of what it is you're doing is so, so important. You know, I get when people say you don't just talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk as well. But if you can talk the talk at first, that's a start. And that's the starting point to getting people on board. And Mikel Arteta's got that. I've liked the way he's looked really pissed off in certain interviews. It shows he cares. I also like the way he's not what I expected he was going to be, if I'm honest. When I saw him as a player at Arsenal, I always felt he was a little bit soft in that defensive midfield position. He wasn't quite up to that task at times. Lovely footballer on the eye and all that, but that still was missing for me. But as a coach, he's got it in an abundance, and I think we need to back this guy and stick with him.
Mark, would you agree there, mate? Arteta has got to be backed. You know, it's not going to be none of this Emery business. You know, where people were calling for him to go after a year or 2 years, and you know, I don't think Unai Emery was ever going to survive at Arsenal. But looking on the example of Jurgen Klopp, is it it's got to be time now for us as a fan base to just lay off the manager and let him do his thing.
Yeah, totally. Everybody needs to have a little bit more calm. That includes you, Lee. I know you get super hypo. We are passionate fans, aren't we? So when things are not going wrong and they're so glaringly obvious, like Lee stands there ranting about the bloody defending. We have been saying since Sol Campbell left, our defence is shit. Somebody go and buy a centre half who can defend. And now in that time, Man United, Leicester, Chelsea, every other football club in the league has gone out and bought at least one centre half. Why are we losing out to Leicester City Football Club? I mean, yeah, you could argue they're a bigger club than us. They've won the league more recently than us, and they're about to land possibly in the Champions League. So there's an argument to suggest that they're a more attractive proposition right now than us. But come on, really, seriously, we should be able to, I don't. What Arsenal Football Club need to do is actually stop looking at recruiting players. We actually need to go out and recruit a recruitment team. And that's what we should be doing. We should be going to Leicester, or we should be going to wherever, and we should be saying, "You lot, I want you lot." Like we did with Mission Slap, whatever his name was, who come from Dortmund and got Aubameyang. We sort of bought into that guy, didn't we? But we only seemed to give him sort of 2 or 3 windows, and then he's then been palmed off with Vinay and stuff like. So he's now gone because he's obviously like, well, I ain't got no control here anymore. So there's no my job here is done. So he's gone. You know what I mean? It's.
I think he lasted about 6 weeks, didn't he?
Well, he was there for a couple of windows when he got Uber in and stuff like that. But I don't know. So he started building us a squad, didn't he? And then he was ripped away from him and I don't know. But yes, we need to cut the manager some slack, because as Lee has quite rightly said in the past, and all of us, in fact, that it's not the manager's fault. The manager can only work with the tools he's got. Now they say a good tradesman never blame his tools, but you're not going to win the league with Mustafi playing centre half.
No, absolutely not. No,
you're not.
Yeah, I know.
So
that's what I mean.
Guardiola, and I said it last week, Pep Guardiola would not have this team in the top 4. He would not. I don't care. He would not. So you can say he's not a good manager. Some people say he's been fortunate. Yes, he has been very, very, very fortunate. He is a very driven individual. But you're telling me Unai Emery's not. Telling me Unai Emery doesn't stay up at night thinking of ways to do his job properly. Arsene Wenger was obsessed with football. Still is at 70-odd years old, you know what I mean? But he didn't have the tools, and that is the board's fault.
It's a good point, mate. It's because I said it last week.
The difference is between someone like Pep is that he would never stand for the bullshit that Wenger put up with the board. He would have said, no, you know what? I've proven myself. I've done what I've done. See you later. I'm off. And, people say he was fortunate he came into a great Barcelona side. But, mate, the pressure on your shoulders managing a club like that.
Oh, I agree.
It takes a special person to do that.
But Harry, you could go to Germany and win the league with that Bayern Munich side. I'm not being funny, mate.
Yeah, but then he won the league, and everyone was going, "Oh, but he didn't win the Champions League." Much pressure.
He didn't.
Yeah, he did.
I know what you're saying. But Wenger, by the way, we all know Wenger is absolute class, and Guardiola, he will sign very short contracts, and if he doesn't get the backing in one window, he's only 1 year away from his contract running out. So he'll just respectfully not sign a new one and go on to another big club. Wenger was a little different. He would sign longer contracts. He would give that club the stability like the sponsors wanted, get him tied down, and he'd never, ever break a contract. He is a gentleman with honour. And so he committed to a project. And then when everything changed around him and he didn't get backed, He just got his head down like anybody of that generation did and done the best job they could do because that's what they do.
Absolutely. There's great points from all this evening. Let's look forward to, it's Sunday. We got Norwich. Is it on Sunday?
Wednesday.
Right? Wednesday. Bloody hell. Is it Wednesday?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I thought I was out to wait a week.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, 6 o'clock kickoff.
Are we playing at the weekend?
Yeah, got Wolves away. Saturday.
Wolves, okay. That's what I might have got a bit confused. Perhaps I thought we were playing Norwich at the weekend. But let's looking forward to the Norwich game. Gave Man United a little bit of a scare there the other night. It's very, very silly of me to say a team we should be beating, but it is a team we should be beating. We're at home. I know the crowd are not there, this, that, and the other. But Dan, surely we should be expecting nothing but 3 points.
Yeah, I am, to be fair. I looked at the run of fixtures before when we were thinking about starting with Man City. The two that I was looking forward to being confident about taking 3 points were Norwich and Watford at home. So the only downside is they've got stuff to play for more than somebody like Southampton on Thursday night because they are in a relegation battle. Saying that, they've got 3 players that I'd like at Arsenal. Both their fullbacks, Jamal Lewis and Max Aarons, I think are fantastic. And I'm quite a fan of Todd Cantwell. I think he's a good player in the middle there. I think he's got real potential. They're a good side. They're a good footballing side when they want to be. They gave Man United a real scare, I thought, the other night. They were quite unlucky, really. There was a couple of chances they should have buried. But for me, yeah, it's a situation where we need to go there with the confidence that we can take 3 points. They do play football, which is sometimes good for Arsenal. The other night, yesterday, Sheffield United don't like to get the ball down and play football. They like to launch it into the box. Norwich don't seem to do that. So it is kind of set up for us nicely. I am looking for 3 points, Craig, and I won't accept nothing less.
Absolutely. Lee, Norwich are aside. I mean, last week I watched them against Southampton. They were terrible. And then against Manchester United the other night, they played quite well. You don't know what you're going to get with Norwich, but like Dan says, they've got some tasty players. But you would be thinking now that hopefully the confidence is running riot now through the boys with 2 away wins. Running riot, but they should be more confident than they have been.
Yeah, I'm not going to get overconfident by it because that's when you're going to start. That's when it can all start to hurt you. Let's not forget. I watched this Norwich side, and I was off the sofa when they played Spurs in the FA Cup. I thought they was outstanding on the day and deserved to beat them. But they play football. But what they do is they give you chances, and that's why they probably, they play against the top teams and they give them a good go. But the top teams have the top strikers, and in the end, they just come a little bit short. But what I do admire about him is that the manager's never changed his philosophy. He's carried on trying to play football that way, and I've got a lot of time for him. Unfortunately, when you play against all the teams, you're going to and play that sort of style, you're going to come unstuck against the big boys. That's what's happened. Listen, I expect Arsenal to win this game after the last couple of games, but if they lost the game, you'd turn around and go, well, that is typical of this Arsenal team and typical of as well. Let's just hope we get Norwich not on a good day and we can get the result. But Norwich are going to have to start winning if they're going to start to survive. It's as simple as that now, So, but I think that it's our first home game, so it'd be interesting to see what we do at home. You know what I mean? It's been about. So I fancy to win this game. Saturday against Wolves, different kettle of fish. They're a very good side.
Very, very good side. Harry, what you saying? Norwich and Wolves. I mean, Norwich a game where you'd sit down Dan has said and Lee has said you would sit down and you would hope that we'd get the 3 points. Lee touches on it there that Wolves at the weekend will be a completely different game, with a completely different, better quality set of players. What do you reckon, mate? Do you reckon we can be here sitting here next Monday with 6 points in the bag?
I think 6 points is a bit ambitious. I would take 3 points. I think if we were to go and get held by Norwich at home, it would kind of be a bit of you feel like we're making progress and then it's hitting a brick wall. And I know we're going to see that under Mikel Arteta, particularly in these early days. We're going to have setbacks, and it's important not to overreact when we get those setbacks. But it would be really, really disappointed if we did beat Norwich at home. I know, we looking at the progress we've made since the restart. We've played 4 away games, man. Nobody else has done that. So it has been a bit of a false sort of set of circumstances, but I expect us to beat Norwich at the Emirates on Wednesday. And look, if we got a draw at Wolves, it would be amazing. But if we lost at Wolves, I won't be beating myself up about it.
Yeah. Mark, your predictions for Norwich and Wolves?
Yeah, and I think Harry's spot on. You know, we should, and Dan, all of the boys there, they got it. You know, that's what we all think, and it beat Norwich at home. But please don't overreact if they don't. You know, this is a young side. We're in weird circumstances. Games are coming thick and fast. Injuries. Let's just get the lads. I'd like to see Willock start. I'd like to see all of the boys, the young lads, starting against Norwich. You know, as that lad just said in the chat there, Norwich are the gone boys. So we should be able to play and start people like Willock, and we should be able to beat them. You know, and then that would allow maybe Uber and Laka to have a bit of a rest up ready for the Wolves game, because we are going to need to be at the races that day, because they are a very well organised side. Tactically, the way Nuno's changed things up, I can't remember what side it was they beat the other day, but he brought that Traore on with about half an hour to go, and he's a monster of a lad. Absolutely pinpoint delivery of a ball. You know, he's a fantastic footballer, and heavily linked with going to Liverpool, isn't he now? Off the back of it, but it's a superb team. The way they are a unit, Wolves, so we're going to have to be at it to get something there. So optimistically, I would say beat Norwich and get a draw.
Yeah, I think a win at Norwich and a draw at Wolves. We come back here Monday and we're happy.
Oh yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Now look, we're going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid. It's been another brilliant chat. Thanks for the support on the podcasts. The last 5 weeks. I mean, I went back there through the other day and looked at the views. Unbelievable. Nearly 7,000 on last week's one, 4,000 on the week before that, 5,000 on the one the week before that. Nearly 350 people watching us live on this one when we were at a peak audience. It's unbelievable. Thank you very much for your support. If you like what you're seeing, share it on Twitter, like it on YouTube. Giving us a like helps us. It helps us get into the videos on the side when people are searching for Arsenal videos. So if you do anything, if you could like it for me, for all of us, that would be very much appreciated. Thanks for sticking with us again for another hour and a half, which has gone bloody quickly again, I've got to say. My thanks to Dan.
Cheers, boys. Thanks, Craig. Top man.
My thanks to the judge.
Enjoyed it. Everybody stay safe, and let's hope we get the wins that we need.
Absolutely. My thanks to Harry.
Cheers, guys. Thanks again, and hopefully let's get 6 points, like Craig said.
Yeah, let's get the 6. And obviously, like I do every week, make sure you go and subscribe to Harry's channel, Chronicles of a Gooner. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Chronicles AFC, and obviously follow him on his Percy Personal there. Another fantastic podcast, a boy who puts a lot of work into what he does. So go over to Harry and subscribe and support him. Mark, thank you very much, mate.
Thanks for having me, man. R.I.P. Theo.
Yes. Do you know what? I've actually kicked myself up the arse there now for forgetting that. I should not have forgotten that. But thank you, Mark, for bringing that up. I'm quite upset with myself that I forgot about that anyway. Yes, rest in peace, Theo. I know another Arsenal legend gone to the footballing gods.
Lovely guy.
Yeah,
lovely guy.
Let's hope someone like that going up there can have a word and change our fortunes a bit. Who knows? So yeah. Thanks very much for you all for watching and sticking around. My thanks to Nigel in the chat, moderating, doing a fantastic job, mate. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week. 6 points we'll be talking about next week. I can feel it in me bones. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. Up the Arsenal.
Up the Arsenal.